Okay, so a quick little video this time, just to kind of thought about this one. So it's going to be 5 rainy day nostalgic fragrances. I kind of get the irony that it's not raining. It was before, but clearly because I'm doing something, there won't be in any particular order, and you could probably predict them all, but it's just going to be 5 fragrances that mean a lot to me, have memories attached. And that's all, folks, so enjoy. Now then, first up we're going to start kind of in the middle or at the end, and it's this one, this little beauty, Mugler's Alien Man. Now the reason that one's quite special to me is because that's sort of the one that started the journey, if you like. Some of the ones I'll be mentioning I'd owned, and you know, kind of old ones that you just keep going back to. Mugler's Alien Man was a new release. What was it now? Coming up to 2 years ago, I think, isn't it? Bloody hell. And basically I was very excited about that. As someone who knew of and loved the original, it was one I wanted to own. And I rushed out to get it as soon as it came out, and it was the first kind of fragrance I bought in a very long time. Now then, was it a bit of a disappointment at first? Yes it was, because it's nothing like Alien, is it? But it's one of these fragrances that actually is really quite brilliant. It's unique for a start, and it's got the notes, the herbaceous feel. It's not overly herbaceous. Everyone kind of bangs on about the dill. There's not much dill in this. It's basically a very kind of beautiful woody fragrance with some nice sweetness going through it. It's not, you know, it's not game changing like the original Alien, but it's unique and different. I've never smelled anything like it, and it's actually quite pleasant. And now every time I wear it, it does take me back to really what started this, because once I bought that I was a little bit disappointed. I did want another one, so I kind of googled it, as you do, and then what comes up on Google is Chris's Fragmental channel. Started watching that, and then that was it, the floodgates were open. So that's Alien, that's Mugler's Alien Man. Now then, next up on the list, if you like, is kind of starting at the beginning, and that is this beauty. Now we all know what this is, and you were all expecting this on the list, so let's get it out of the way. Jupom. And just before we get into that debate, I know what you're all going to say to me. It's not dupe, it's yop. Right, it's not yop, it's dupe. My first language is English. No other fragrances does anybody else in the world ever pronounce in the original pronunciational language. So why dupe is especially selected and singled out for this, I just don't know. Anyway, back to the fragrance. Right, this is the first one that was bought for me. I don't know, was I 15, 16, 14, something like that. I do remember wearing it at school. Obviously it got me a lot of attention when them things mattered back then. And then I continued wearing it for many years. But my memories of this one were being young, you know, when you first start going out. Started going to the pub when I was too young, put it that way. My little bum fluff goatee. And used to wear it for them nights out. Reminds me, you know, of £1 pints, LCL lager, very cheap booze. And we were good lads and lasses when we went out, which is probably how we got away with it, and things were different back then. But this basically is all them memories in a bottle. And not just that time, such as like when I first met my eldest nephew, when I went to visit him after he'd been born. It's what I wore to the hospital. It's just a very special, nostalgic fragrance, and it does make me feel young, and it does make me feel happy, back to them days when we didn't have a care in the world. So yeah, and it is very synthetic, but it was very game changing. And I think the thing about it is this fragrance kind of moulds my taste in fragrance, if you like. The kind of, you know, sweet fragrances for everyone. You know, dupe isn't particularly, in inverted commas, overly masculine or anything like that and all that nonsense. It just is what it is, a beautiful sweet fragrance that everyone wore, and definitely has memories for everyone. So anyway, yes, I've whittled on enough about that. That's dupe. Now then, next on the list we go to John the Adult, and this one is quite a special one. It is Hugo Boss Hugo. Now this was my first work scent. It was probably the second or third bottle, that particular one I had, but that one was bought for me. But it was what everyone at work kind of knew me for, if you get what I mean. It's just a very easy to wear fragrance. It's kind of classic in style. It's got kind of sweet elements to it, but it's professional, and it you know, a bit of citrus, a bit of kind of rich woodiness about it, and it's just suitable for work, but it always reminds me of work. Now when you're young, we all do some shit jobs, but actually I was quite lucky. The jobs I did were very, very rewarding, even though the companies themselves, I say companies, some of them were let's say government companies, but yeah, whereas the companies themselves were utter arses, all about money. The actual jobs we did, what I took from it was actually properly helping people, even if that meant breaking the rules a little bit. I'd rather help the person more than I should than not enough. So yes, anyway, that's banging on about something else. This fragrance, don't wear it a lot now, but it's always one I'll have, and I'll certainly always have that bottle, because again, that's quite a special present, really. So yes, that's Hugo Boss Hugo. Now then, next on the list was kind of young adult John's other side. Burberry Touch. This was kind of, back in the day, my going out fragrance, my kind of party fragrance that was a bit different to dupe and Lamal and all the other ones that were kind of around. It was also quite like if there's something special at work and I had to dress up, wear a suit, etc., then I'd probably wear that, something a bit different, a bit loud, a bit appealing. So it's quite a lot of good memories attached to this, especially actually particularly my best friend at the time. Now, as I was dupe boy, he bought dupe Weekend, I believe it was back then, and I bought Burberry Touch, and he bought Burberry, God, what was it? What was I talking about? It was Burberry Weekend. It was dupe Dupe Sport, not Dupe Sport. He bought another dupe anyway. But anyway, we always had to kind of match, but in a different way. And he's like my brother from another mother thing, and that fragrance in particular reminds me of all the absolutely fantastic nights out we had. Like, we lived together at uni for a few years as well, so we really were like brothers. And it was actually very rare, unlike the other people in the house, that me and him fell out. But it just takes me back to great memories of going to see Jay Sean live, Mystique, Girls Aloud, oh god, that Australian lass, all sorts of ridiculous people. But you know, like you do when you're students, Chesney Hawks, and it just reminds me of being very, very drunk and just, well, I say live, kind of live music and that, and it was just a great experience, great part of my life. So Burberry Touch is one of them that's just, it is really a smile in a bottle that makes me feel good. And not just that, with it's violet and woods, and it's just a very inviting again scent, and it's quite appealing. Now, back in the day, it did used to be quite a lot stronger. That's not just nostalgia, but it was too much. It was way too much because it was sweet. You could only have 1 or 2 sprays, which back then you didn't. And there was a great period of time that I couldn't wear it because it made me quite sick wearing it so much, obviously when you're drunk as well. But now, even with the tempered down one, it still can get quite in your face. So yeah, a beautiful fragrance anyway. So that's Burberry Touch. Finally on the list, you're probably all wondering where this one has been, but possibly the most special fragrance to me. Probably my favourite fragrance of all time. Now then, I've said a few times that I won't ever buy a proper bottle of this because the memories mean too much to me, and if I started wearing it, it would kind of get rid of the memories. But instead, I'm quite happy to buy inspired by versions, and I've got a couple. This is Narcotic Noir from Pocket Sense, and this is a beautiful version. It is very similar, but it feels a little fresher and a little more kind of wearable, if you like, not with them same. Sorry, got distracted by blueberries. Oh dear, which aren't ripe and very bitter. But anyway, go back to the fragrance. The inspired by 1 minute. Saving my mouth with blackberries now, much sweeter and more lovely. But yes, back to what I was saying. So it's a really special fragrance. Now, if you don't know what it's like, it's got a little bit of peachy feel in it. It's got quite a bit of jasmine. It's quite dark. Has a little touch of coffee. And it's a really beautiful, dark, kind of sensual, almost gothy fragrance. And why this is special to me is we're all human, you know, we all have a past. This is kind of not my first girlfriend, or maybe my first love, but my deepest love, my most kind of biggest connection. The lass wore this fragrance, and this was her fragrance that she always wore when we went out, spent time together and that. And it just reminds me of them days. Pretty tough time in my life, but she was a ray of light and a ray of support, and always there for me. And it just reminds me of, well, them sort of things, but also kind of just snuggling into her for comfort. My first kiss with her, you know, being drunk, being happy, them sort of things we do when we're all younger. Wasn't that young, but younger. And it was just kind of, yeah, it reminds me obviously of that special person, but it's not so much that now. Now as you get older, you move on and get over that. It's more them times, them comfortable times, the support, the feelings. Even though it was a tough time, it kind of blocks all that out. Not completely, but when I think about it, I think how I come through it, and life got better, and probably wouldn't have done it without her. And that kind of smell and that vibe just always is the most special one to me. So yeah, that's my list. I've rambled on, I don't know about what, but there you go. And this was a bit off the cuff, this list, so that's why it's a bit kind of, I don't know, unstructured and that. And I do have a few that I'm kind of halfway through, but I've been struggling a bit with the old kind of motivation, but I'm getting there, I'm getting back, and I'll finish all the ones I've started. But yeah, what about you lot? What's your kind of nostalgic fragrance? What's the one that you've got loads of deep memories attached to? Obviously you don't need to tell us about memories, but why does that fragrance mean a lot to you? Do you still own it, or do you not want to own it because of the memories? It'd be really interesting to see. Obviously I'll tag a few people because, you know, why not? But don't feel pressured to do it. Anyway, thanks for your time, folks, and I'm waffling on and on. Goodbye.